Hola estudiantes, this video is over double object pronouns, which is going to be when you use a direct object and an indirect object in the same sentence. I'm going to start by reviewing the differences between direct and indirect objects, and then we'll do some where both are in the same sentence. Here are the charts for each. Direct objects are typically the item, which is like the what. So for instance, if I said he passed me the ball, direct object is the item, so the ball is what he passed. Ball would be the direct object. But if I want to say like he passed me it would be like this la here because pelota is feminine. Most of the direct objects that we'll use the most often are items that come after a verb, which would be lo, la, los, las. But indirect objects are also come after the verb in English, and they're typically people. So if I said he passed me the ball, this is like to whom got it, so may would be my indirect object. Here are some more examples with direct objects. Nosotros compramos los boletos. This should also help reading some of our vocab words too. Boletos are items, so boletos is a direct object. Los aficionados compran las entradas. Entradas are an item, so direct object. El entrenador compra algunas pesas. Pesas are an item, direct object. Tú compras una pelota. Pelota's item, direct object. So direct object, typically an item at the end of a sentence in Spanish. Indirect objects, if there's a sentence with an indirect object, usually you'll also have a direct object. Typically the indirect object is a person. So if I were to come back here, like we buy tickets, if I said like we buy my grandparents' tickets, grandparents would be an indirect object because that's like to whom we buy tickets. Or here, the team steals the prize, and then or like they steal it from someone, then that other person could be the indirect object. Or like you buy a ball, maybe it's like you buy the girl a ball, girl would be the indirect object. So then when we have indirect object coming up, there'll be an extra pronoun with like from the me, te, le, nosos, les chart. So now that you understand what both direct and indirect objects are, I'll be showing you some examples of both of them together. So for instance, both together we have el jugador, the player, me pasa la pelota. The player passes me the ball. La señora, the lady, te sirve los nachos. So she serves you the nachos. As you can see, with a pronoun for direct objects, it's going to come before the verb. But if I want to do some of these where I have the direct object also as a pronoun, that's what we're going to be learning new today. So for instance, instead of saying the player passes me the ball, I'm going to say the player, el jugador, me la pasa, or the player passes me it. So that is how that part would work out. Here we have la señora, te sirve los nachos. She serves you the nachos. Now I'm going to say she serves you them. So I'd have la señora te los sirve. So on here, for the pronouns, te would be for you, who she serves them to. That's indirect object because it's like to the person. Whereas los here, that's going to be my it. Actually, it would be them because it's representing my nachos. And that would be a direct object because it's the item. Here, I'll explain how I got me la on these two. So me would be me. It's the indirect object. And it's like to me. We have the ball. La here means it, and it's representing the pelota. And it would be the direct object. Last example. El hombre le da el boleto a Rita. The man, el hombre, gives da el boleto, the ticket, to Rita. So I have this le pronoun here. Even if the indirect object is a person, I still put my pronoun for indirect objects. But if I want to change it to the man gives it to her, I'd go el hombre, indirect object, le. Then I have my direct object after that, which would be lo, and then da. So it's like the man gives it to her. It would be low, her would be my lay for indirect. No, you probably noticed on here that the indirect, I always put the indirect object first. So like my name pronoun, lay, may, or K, that name one came before my item one. So indirect is going to come before direct. Just like in the title here, I put indirect first, indirect comes first. And the acronym to teach you that indirect comes first is going to be no rid. So if I have my word no, that's going to come first. Actually, let's simplify this and change it to no ID. If you don't have an ID, it's not going to work. So it's no comes first. Then you have your indirect for the I, direct object pronoun for the D for no ID. I spelled out up here if you have all the different possible components, subject always comes first. So like I had the name like the man first. If I had no, that would come next. If I had a reflexive pronoun, the verbs you do to yourself, I'd have that in there. Those don't usually get used with these other ones though. Then I'd have my indirect object, then direct object. So think of an ID, indirect comes before direct. Going back to this last one where I wrote el hombre le lo da. I'm actually going to have to change this lay to say. And the reason for that is if I have any of this combination in a row, lay, lo, lay, la, lay, los, lay, las, this lay word is going to change to say. So it should be really like el hombre se lo da. The reason for this is they don't want to have two L words in a row to make it, they want it to sound prettier. So the first word changes to a say in that case. So here I have pasa se lo, pass him it. So say would go with the him for my indirect. And that had to change from lay to say because my next word starts with an L. I'll do another example of ones where I have to change the lay to a say. So for instance, if I said man buys for it. It is a hamburger at the concession stand at the stadium. So I'd say el hombre, subject comes first. Then I'd have my indirect object pronoun. So I'll put lay for now for her. It for a hamburger would be la because hamburguesa is feminine. Then compra is my verb. Compra is ending goes with hombre for the he one. So since I have lay, la in a row, this lay is going to change to say because I want it to sound pretty. I believe that is everything with this topic. Adios.